Welcome to today's lesson on the political context of Macbeth, where we will explore the political struggles of the Jacobean era. In today's lesson, we will delve into the political aspects that underpin William Shakespeare's Macbeth by looking at how the transition from one monarchy to another, the struggles of King James I, the subsequent Gunpowder Plot, and growing intolerance towards Catholicism as a consequence of the Gunpowder Plot, all of which inspired Shakespeare's choice of dramatic subject matter. Let's start this exciting journey into the political depths of Macbeth. Shakespeare wrote his plays amidst the ever-changing political landscape of England, specifically under the reigns of two monarchs, Queen Elizabeth I and King James I. During the reign of Queen Elizabeth, which was characterized by stability and progress, Shakespeare's plays often had a more positive tone. Yet, the landscape shifted dramatically with the accession of King James I to the throne after Queen Elizabeth's death in 1603. Under the reign of King James I, Shakespeare's plays took a darker turn, dramatizing treachery, power struggles, and suspense. It is worth noting that Queen Elizabeth never had an heir, and so her crown was offered to James Stuart, the Protestant son of the Catholic Mary Queen of Scots, who had been executed under Elizabeth's reign. When James became king in 1603, the nation experienced another shift. Many were conflicted due to his complex lineage and the controversy surrounding how he came to power. King James I, born James Stuart, ruled England and Scotland from 1603 until his death in 1625. Prior to becoming King James I of England, he was King James VI of Scotland, ascending to the Scottish throne as an infant after his mother, Mary Queen of Scots, was forced to resign. His dual kingship, as James I of England and James VI of Scotland, marked the beginning of the Stuart reign in England and historically the unification of these two countries. James was the first king to rule both England and Scotland, which brought its own set of political complications as he sought to unify the two nations.
Gentlemen, we stand at a precipice of monumental change. As the first monarch to rule over both England and Scotland, I envision a united kingdom, a single Great Britain that will stand as a beacon of power and prosperity.
These attempts were met with mixed responses. Some welcomed the move, while others resisted, fueling covert power struggles and political unrest. The reign of King James I and the political turbulence of the period deeply influenced Shakespeare's Macbeth. Just as King James I was embroiled in power struggles and religious conflicts, so too is the character of Macbeth. James, deemed an outlier to the English throne, just as Macbeth is to the Scottish throne, used his rule to try and unify England and Scotland. It is implied that Macbeth is also interested in the union of the two countries. However, the play also offers a critique of unchecked ambition, illuminating the disastrous consequences of political violence and upheavals. Interestingly, embodied within the character of Banquo, said to be an ancestor of King James I, is an indirect tribute to the king, a nod perhaps by Shakespeare to James's belief in the divine right of kings. Thus, Macbeth, with its motifs of power, ambition, and violent upheaval, intricately mirroring the political anxieties of King James I's era. Now let's look at the Gunpowder Plot of 1605. It was a major political event that heavily influenced the writing of Macbeth. This plot was a failed assassination attempt against King James I by a group of provincial English Catholics led by Guy Fawkes. Their aim was to blow up Parliament, intending to kill the king, his ministers, and those who held power. The plot was discovered, and the conspirators, including Guy Fawkes, were captured, tortured until they confessed, and subsequently executed. This significant event deepened the political and religious tensions within England. The failure of the plot was popularly celebrated and is remembered each year on the 5th of November as what we now recognise as Guy Fawkes Night. The play, Macbeth, was written in 1606, just a year after the notorious Gunpowder Plot. In the play, Shakespeare mirrors the themes of treachery, violence, and the bloody consequences of usurping power, as seen in the Gunpowder Plot. The attempt on the king's life and the brutal repercussions faced by the plotters add to the play's overall cautionary message regarding the disastrous consequences of political violence. Let's have a look at our final point: Catholicism. The Gunpowder Plot made people more suspicious of Catholics, who were seen as trying to bring England back to Catholicism, even though it was now a Protestant country. As a result, Catholics were treated very harshly. Many innocent people who remained faithful to Catholicism were arrested, questioned, and tortured. This situation put many Catholics in a difficult position. They knew that lying was considered a sin in Christianity, but they also knew that if they admitted to being Catholic, they could be executed or imprisoned. To avoid both lying and getting arrested, many Catholics used a method called equivocation. This meant they would tell part of the truth while leaving out other details. For example, they might say they didn't go to Mass on Thursday but wouldn't mention that they went on Friday. Shakespeare reflects this idea in his play Macbeth, using both the concept and the word equivocate itself. The witches use equivocation when they give Macbeth predictions that seem impossible, like a forest moving or a man not born of a woman defeating him. Macbeth dismisses these warnings until he realizes too late that the army is camouflaged with branches and that Macduff was born by a caesarean section. Macbeth falls victim to equivocation, a concept that was widely known and discussed during that time. Great work! To summarize this lesson, we have looked at how Shakespeare's plays shifted from a positive tone during Queen Elizabeth I's stable reign to a darker focus on treachery and power struggles under King James I, reflecting the changing political landscape and uncertainty of England during their respective rules. Next, we looked at how the reign of King James I of England, also James VI of Scotland, marked the beginning of the Stuart rule, highlighted by his efforts to unify England and Scotland, which influenced Shakespeare's Macbeth with themes of power, ambition, and political turbulence, reflective of James's own challenges and beliefs. Then, we turned to the Gunpowder Plot of 1605, a failed Catholic conspiracy to assassinate King James I, which significantly influenced Shakespeare's Macbeth, reflecting themes of treachery and the severe consequences of political violence. Finally, we looked at how the Gunpowder Plot intensified suspicion and harsh treatment of Catholics, leading them to use equivocation to avoid persecution, a concept reflected in Shakespeare's Macbeth. Watch the rest of the GCSE English Literature course at Sophos Education.